the demise, the destruction, and the closing of Stewart-Hass Racing. I don't know if that was on anybody's bingo card at the beginning of the season. That is
without they were posting on their social media to start the year. It was not on my bingo card that they were closing this year.
Not at all, my friend. But now, look, let's not be that surprised that a major organization, a manufacturer's darling, has now demised. Because, look, over the last 5, 6, 10, 15 years, we've had DEI. All right, that was a 3 to 4 car operation. We've had Ray Evernham Motorsports, right? They brought in Dodge, right? Okay. You've had Michael Waltrip Racing. Like, who would have thought 10 years ago that Michael Waltrip Racing would not have started the third decade of the millennial, right?
The Toyota.
Yeah, right. I mean, they were a main front for Toyota coming in to racing. Another multi-car team. And this one, to this day, still just shocks my mind that we had Red Bull in our grasp. We had Red Bull and all the money that they have in our sport, and we somehow let them get away. So let's not be that surprised that a four-car team...
I remember the Red Bull days of Brian Vickers, Scott Speed. I think A.J. Allmendinger was part of them at one point.
Right. He was in the beginning. He couldn't qualify a car out there and worked some kinks out. But, that was a whole lot of money that Red Bull come into the sport with, and they went through a whole lot of money real quick. So there's no doubt that they didn't stick around and continue throwing money down the toilet. Of course, there's been other operations, Richard Petty Motorsports, Ginn, I believe Ginn Motorsports, which had fielded 3 or 4 cars at one time back in the early middle 2000s. Furniture Row Racing. So every year, we have the demise. And as a matter of fact, I read the article the other day that only a third, starting in 2025, only a third of the teams that received their original charters still own those said charters. So quite a shock there for, a lot of people. A lot has changed. A lot of landscape has changed since 2016. So, and we'll continue to see more change. Now, let's hit some pointers here with the Stewart-Hass Racing closing. First of all, shock, right? That was the shock wave. Like, we heard the rumors. We heard that there may be a relationship problem with Ford. We watched Front Row Motorsports announce that they were now a Tier 1 program, which kind of left us wondering, okay, well, where does that leave Stewart-Hass Racing? But, Honda was coming in, right? And so maybe, just maybe, none of that seemed to happen. None of that come to fruition. Taz Taylor, now we're honestly sitting here and watching the last days of Stewart-Hass Racing. Tell me how that makes you feel. I know we went through the list of teams that are already gone. Tell me what if at that point in time of the announcement, if it didn't feel like maybe the sport maybe was losing a little bit of ground, like we're not expanding, we're contracting. Tell me your thoughts on that.
Well, I don't think we've seen as big of an organization like Stewart-Hass shut down like this in NASCAR. And if we have, well, I mean, I know we've gone through the teams, but I don't think those teams have been anywhere as big as what Stewart-Hass was, or is, I should say.
Okay.
Have there been teams probably close to it? Maybe. Maybe not. I don't think it's so much retracting. I think we're kind of, in a way, we're retracting in terms of a big powerhouse team. Because if you think of it, before the next-gen car, Stewart-Hass was like, top-tier team. Like, they were competing week in and week out with Gibbs, with Hendrick, with Penske, you know? And now, like, since the next-gen era, it seems like Stewart-Hass, like, fell off the face of the earth.
Right.
I don't know if it was something happening behind the scenes or if it really was this whole driver movement that maybe they didn't act upon it soon enough, kind of like how Hendrick did, if you think about it. Like, Jeff Gordon knew when his time was up, when younger drivers started coming in. Insert Chase Elliott. Jeff Gordon knew, he backed out, Chase Elliott came in. Dale Jr., same boat. He backed out. Well, he backed out for injury reasons for the most part. But he knew when his time was up to insert a younger driver. Insert Alex Bowman. That left Jimmy Johnson and, Casey Keene. Casey Keene went out.
We ain't got no whipped cream dudes, I think.
Casey Keene went out for injury purposes, so that inserted William Byron. Johnson knew it was his time to go and insert Kyle Larson. So obviously this youth movement was happening, and these veterans are pretty much sitting there saying, like, all right, this is our time to go. But I think over at Stewart-Hass, they either didn't have the drivers to gel very well. Haha, that rhymed. Or they just didn't follow the youth movement fast enough as they should have.